Oh, so I got a question if I could make a video about how to make a mealworm farm. So I'm going to show you how I started. Actually, what I did is I took all of my mealworms, well, not all of my mealworms, I took my mealworms that were left over from feeding my bearded dragon, and I put them in a rubber bin, and then I kind of forgot about them. And then I was like, oh no, I was supposed to use that rubber bin to make mealworms. And I had put in what you put in for the base of your mealworm farm, which is oatmeal, in with those mealworms. So you start out with a nice bedding of oatmeal in your mealworms. And when I went out to my bin to check if I had mealworms in my rubber bin, I did indeed have mealworms in my rubber bin. So I said, oh, well, clearly mealworms can't be that hard to do because I didn't do anything and I had all these mealworms in this bin. But when I looked in that bin that I had, because I used one of those cheap plastic Rubbermaid or whatever 3-drawer rubber bins, and I had just put like this, and then I had my leftover mealworms that I'd thrown in there, and there was only mealworms. There wasn't any beetles, but I did notice there were dead beetles, but no live ones. So then I went onto Amazon, and I bought this bin for like, I think it was $35, which has a little separator. And what you do is you put your mealworms in the base here with whatever kind of leftover vegetable you feed your bearded dragon or whatever other creature you are feeding your mealworms to, be it chickens or what's the word, geckos, you know, whatever, whether it's a reptile or a bird that you're feeding these to, you just put your leftover veggies in there. And then after a while, your mealworms will start developing. I don't remember how long it takes, a couple of weeks. They'll start developing into, did I get all the pupas out? I think I got all the pupas out of here this morning. Because every morning I go through and, oh, there's a pupa. They'll start developing into these, which are the little pupas. Whoops, I dropped him. And if you don't separate the pupas from the mealworms, you don't get beetles. I don't know if the mealworms eat them, as I have occasionally seen dead beetles if I haven't separated them out, but I don't get, my beetles don't live very long if I don't separate them from the mealworms. And this works also for same thing for superworms. If you're going to do superworms and not mealworms, it's the same process. You just need to go through and make sure you find all of your pupas, because your pupas will eventually, oh, I need something heavy there for my camera because of the angle. Your pupas are eventually going to develop, and when they hatch, they first look like, I saw one earlier today that was just a fresh hatching. Let's see if I can find him. Let's put my separator in, see if I can find him. Oh, you're gonna see this guy right here. See him? See how he looks a little funny? Oh, it's not. He looks still kind of like he's not a beetle. He looks half mealwormy, right? That's because he hasn't fully come out of the pupa. He's still half in the pupa. When they're fully come out of the pupa, they're gonna look like this guy right here. And then as they age, they're gonna get darker and become these guys, these black ones. And then as they grow and eat and flourish, they will make babies. And your babies will fall down through the grate into this lower chamber, which then will grow into your, get bigger. I think I have some babies in here. Do I have a baby in there? This one's kind of small, but he's not really what I would call a baby. But they're just going to be teeny tiny little hair length sized mealworms that you'll first see in there, like this guy right here. No, I keep missing him. Getting away. Oh, I got away. Anyway, and then sometimes you'll see them. They'll be white, and that's just they've recently shed. Now another thing I like to do is to keep the frass down in the bottom of the tank. That's the poop. I take all my beetles and I put them in a separate little bin here for a minute while I clean out the bottom of the tank. I then pour them all into this part so that the frass can come out. And I only do this about every weekly thing, so that I don't lose too many babies, because if you do it too often, you're going to lose all your eggs. Pour my frass in the bottom of this, and then pour them back into this bin. And as you can see right here, here is one of the little babies. See how tiny that guy is? Can you see him? He's so tiny. And in this frass there will be eggs. So I usually don't empty out the tank. I just let that frass sit for a little bit, so that any babies that are in there can become mealworms. And that way I hope that I get as many mealworms from my beetles as possible, so that they stay alive. Now, as far as hydration goes, because your bedding is going to be this oatmeal, the hydration, like right now I have what's left of a plum that I ate this morning as part of my healthy breakfast. But another good thing for them is the thick parts of any of your veggie, the stems, the veins, whatever you want to call them, and potatoes, carrots, sweet potatoes. I also took some baby food and I put it in the freezer, and that's what this chunk here is. And they'll eat that for a while until it's too dry, and then they ignore it, and then you just gotta toss it. But I give them the ends of the squash, and I give them carrots and sweet potato and potato. Mostly sweet potato. I try not to do potato itself because it doesn't have a whole lot of nutrition. It's just for the hydration. Oh, I've got a few straggler beetles. But this is a stem from a Swiss chard, and I just break that up and put that in, and that gives them pretty much all of the moisture that they need. If you end up getting rot or mold, you're feeding your beetles and your mealworms more than they can eat, and so you want to decrease how much you're feeding at a time until you get more. But most of the time these guys are able to finish off what I give them without having to worry about it. And then I usually, because I have this extra spot, and I have that because this ventilation spot on this particular breeding chamber, whatever you want to call it, the mealworms are small enough to get through it. So if you don't have something for it to sit in, your mealworms escape. Not all of them, but enough of them. So I have them in a tank I'm not using, and I think this is a 40-gallon, and it just fits in there just perfectly. And the nice part is that when I want to sort them, I can take this and I can set it on the top like this, and then I can just take a pupa from here and put it right into the beetle bin, and anything that falls out of the beetle bin while I'm sorting goes into the tank, so I don't lose any critters. And then sometimes when my bearded dragon knows that I'm doing my sorting, he comes and goes bap bap bap, and he wants to eat the mealworms, and I'm like, dude, sorry, it's not mealworm day. And there you go. That's how I raise mealworms. It's pretty easy. They are one of the lowest maintenance. I do also raise dubias, but I gotta clean my dubia container, so maybe I'll do one of those while I'm cleaning it. Good luck. Make sure you're feeding your bugs stuff that is safe for your bearded dragon to eat. Now, these guys do eat fruit, but that's because, well, they eat the fruit as beetles, and I don't feed the beetles, I only feed the worms. You don't have to worry about them passing on the fruit as mealworms, because they don't get it as mealworms, they only get it as beetles. There you go. I hope that helps.